Hey, this is Jude from Awesome Health CG. We are going to do a little tutorial about the Maya 2017 render setup window. The objective is to give a very basic understanding of the new setup to get you guys up and running as soon as possible. Also, this is a render agnostic tutorial, so the functions that we show in this video can be applied to any other renderer of your choosing. But for the purpose of this tutorial, we are just going to use Arnold because Maya ships with it. So let's go in. So the render setup window is located right here. You can click that, and this is the render setup window. You can also access that using Windows, rendering editors, render setup window. This is the render setup window. Before we talk about this, we'll try to get a good understanding of the core concept of how this new layering system works. Let's start by talking a bit about the old layer system. In the old layer system, we have a layer and we have objects inside it and the overrides. Problem was, the overrides were connected to the object. Whenever the object has a name change or whatever it has, it used to give errors and all kind of glitches. I think that's why they created this new system. The new system is pretty good. It's very scalable. So let's talk about the new one. Think about the new render setup as having the same layers like we used to, and having an extra grouping options called collections inside each layer. So all the objects and the overrides will be connected to the collection. As an example, let's add an object. We have 3 objects and we have an override for this collection inside this layer. For each layer, we can have multiple collections and each collection can have multiple overrides. This is the simplest form of collection. If you want a bit more advanced, and we are not going to talk about this in this tutorial, just for your knowledge, we can have layers, collections and sub-collection inside an existing collection. So this is how it's going to happen. We have, let's say we have 3 objects inside the main collection, and then we have 2 objects filtered from that collection in a sub collection with a different override. This can come in handy in a lot of situations, but we are not going to talk about this today. This is the scene that we're going to use to do all the testing on the layer setup window. This has few objects: a sky, some grass and a ground, teapot and barbed wire. Talking about the teapot, this teapot is from the rolling teapot challenge that's done by Renderman. I'll include the link so you can download this model for free. So yeah, and we have some lights in here as well. Let's do a render and see how this looks. This is how it looks. Yes, I've reduced the sample so it renders fast. What we need to do with the layers, we want to be able to render the background, the midground and foreground separately, so we can tweak each of these elements in comp. So in order to do that, we are going to use the render setup window. We can open the render setup window using this button. It has 3 areas: the scene area, the layers area and the properties editor. On the scene area, you can see there's scene, and there are 2 buttons in there. There's I button and there's a clapperboard button. Clapperboard, yeah. You know what it is. And let's create a layer so I can show what it's doing, and we'll name it BG background. This I button means that you're currently looking at your scene through the scene view. So whatever the objects you have in your scene, you're gonna see it. Yeah, let's switch our eye to the newly created background layer. There's no objects in there. There are a few lights, we'll talk about it later, but there are no objects in our background layer. So let's add some by creating a collection first. We can name it whatever we want, but right now I'm not going to name it. Now I have created a collection, but the collection is empty. How we know that's empty? By looking at this area. Now as you can see, there are nothing inside this area. So if you want to add some objects into the collection, you can drag them and drop it here. Let's go back to the scene view so we can select our object. So we need to select the sky, the grass and the ground and bring it into the background collection. So these are selected. Middlemost drag to this area, and now they are part of the background layer. Just to see whether it's working, we will switch back to viewing through the background. As you can see, we can only see whatever that's available in our background layer. And if you render it right now, you should only see that. Exactly. You don't see the teapot or the wires. So let's just create the 2 other layers. So we can get this thing going. 2 more layers, MG mid ground and FG foreground. Let's add things onto those layers as well. Let's look at the scene through the scene graph, the scene view, and let's scale. No, you don't want scale. No, you don't want scale. Okay, that's fine. So let's add the teapot onto our mid ground. Create a collection, teapot, middle mouse drag. Yes. And for the FG, we're gonna add the barbed wires to the foreground collection. Where's the wire? Drag and drop. Let's switch through our layers so we can see what's in each. The background has the grass, sky, and the ground. Midground has our teapot, and the foreground has the barbed wire. Let's render them. Let's render the midground. And let's render the foreground. Yep, there it is. Let's talk about overrides. If you look at the background layer and if you render it, you can see the teapot is not there and the teapot shadow is not there as well. But we need the teapot shadow. We are going to bring in the teapot into this layer and do an override to get rid of the primary visibility. So only the shadow remains in that layer. Currently we have one collection, which are the sky, the grass, and the ground. We're going to create another collection because we need to override this as a separate thing. Teapot. So now we have the collection 1, the first one, and the teapot. Let's bring in the teapot into that thing. Let's do a render just for fun so you can see what's going on. We have the teapot and we have the shadows, but what we need to do is get rid of the teapot, but we need the shadows. It's pretty simple. We select the teapot and we go to its attributes. You select the teapot and you can press Ctrl A to go there. In the render stats, you can have cast shadow, receive shadows, everything else, and primary visibility. You can middle mouse drag it to this area and you got an override for the teapot collection. Teapot share. You did not create this. It was created by Maya automatically. For now, you don't have to worry about it. You just create the collection, you drag and drop whatever the attributes you want to, and it will create the override. We have to turn it off because we don't need it. And we do another render. Yep, no teapot, but the shadows are there. Pretty awesome. So, as you can remember, whenever we create a new layer, we always got our lights on each layer. Now we are going to talk about how we can do light overrides for each layer. In order to do light overrides, we have to middle mouse drag this into whatever the layer that we need the light override to be in. So as an example, let's get the foreground. Let's say that in the foreground, we don't like this. Let's bring it up. Yes. In this foreground, we do not like this red color light in the foreground, but we liked it in everywhere else. We don't like it in the foreground. We can middle mouse drag this light from the scene area to whatever the layer that we want to foreground, drop it there, and it will create light overrides tab right here. What you have to do is double click and you have all your lights here. You just turn off the area light, the red color one. Done. You close that and let's do another render and see how it looks. But now you do not have any red lights coming in, which is what we needed. That's the basics of the render setup window. If you like it, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions, confusions, or recommendations on what I should address in my next video, please feel free to comment below.